I've got that radiant glow, that sweet, glorious blue. And
in the northern area of Fallout 4, past a shattered bridge brought down by the crashing Skylines Flight 1981, you might see in the distance a giant Mr. Handy robot. Investigating, you'll find it to be a massive display, bursting out from the centre of buildings, along with the sounds of a tannoy sporadically bellowing out barked orders. What is this strange location staffed by robots, keeping them in an endless loop? And what happened to the previous supervisor that forced this place to close? Hello there, and welcome to the Green Vault Podcast, a lore-based podcast delving into the world of Fallout and its locations, be they eerily spooky, weirdly funny, quirkily strange, or wonderfully benign. So join me, your host, Red, as we take a look at a location in Fallout and discuss every aspect, from architecture, quests, loot, sound, and game design. So welcome, travellers of the Fallout Wastes. Let's delve into today's location. We are in Fallout 4 as the sole survivor, venturing into the northern part of the Fallout 4's wasteland to the General Atomics Galleria. This is a very noticeable location. You'll see it from pretty far away if you're in the area. The giant Mr. Handy robot metal statue gives it away. The top half of it sticks out above the surrounding buildings, a great pale blue sphere with the three robot eyes on hinges. Several giant panels are now missing from the metal statue. Rust runs down the seams. It's seen better days, to be sure. You'll also hear the loudspeakers pumping out barking orders. If you're familiar with the voice of the army variant of the Mr. Handy, the Mr. Gutsy, you'll recognise the voice as that one. You'll most likely come upon this location by heading east. In Fallout 4 you start in the northwestern corner, of course, so eastwards is a good way to explore. A dusty road leads down and turns to concrete just before the entrance. The voice over the speaker kicks in when you're pretty close, but it's hard to understand from that far away. The subtitles don't subtitle it either. You can enter the location from nearly every angle. The area isn't fenced off or anything, but there is a proper entrance coming off the road that runs past it. The road runs east to west, with the Galleria on the north side of the road. There's actually the shell of a white car just outside on the opposite side of the road. It has a mine next to it and it will make the car explode if you set it off. The entrance is framed with an archway, with General Atomics rendered in metal over the arch. It's a very retro font type. The words are the same baby blue as the statue. The word is underlined with a strip of metal that's more orange. It joins the I in the atomics, which is also painted in orange. The arches themselves are green and white, looking like they belong as the posts of a smaller bridge you'd see leading into a wealthier suburb, but scaled to be appropriate for a generously sized road that you could see two cars passing each other comfortably. The statue is at the centre ahead as you walk in, creating the sort of centre of the Galleria. It sits in the middle of a triangle road area. The whole location is circular, sort of. As circular as a roundabout type road can look, with squared shaped buildings around it. A footpath and a road runs around the triangle perimeter of the statue. The entrance and exit road creates a V shape, opening up at the back half of the Galleria for parking. It's a bit hard to tell as the road's all ruined and littered with rubbish, I will say. The statue isn't exactly at the centre either, despite what I kind of just said. It's further forward, creating a more open-roaded area behind it, to create more area for driving and, of course, like I said, parking. The perimeter of the location has 7 buildings, 8 including the statue, which you can actually enter. Before you can enter, you need to talk to the greeter, a Mr. Handy called Greeter. Very inventive, I know. He assumes you are the new supervisor come for the grand reopening. You can actually pretend to be said supervisor to gain access to the Galleria as it's closed. Entering without permission actually doesn't get you attacked on sight or anything, so you can just freely walk around. It's more linked to the quest at this location. The greeter sends you to meet the director. The director is the General Atomics Patented Director Management System, DMS. It's tasked with coordinating the robots at the Galleria. We'll meet him later on. The entrance is blocked for road access by 2 broken concrete barriers. The mess continues on the inside. Orange cones and wooded barriers litter the road. Multiple shopping trolleys, one with a tyre in it, as well as the shell of 8 vehicles ring around the road. Weirdly though, there aren't any skeletons outside that I could find at all. I looked around the perimeter for perhaps a pile of skeletons, implying that the robots cleared them up, but sadly there's nothing. I think that would have been a very fun piece of environmental storytelling. Find one car that looks like it drove into a parked vehicle. Its front half is up on top of another parked one. This would imply someone was driving when the bombs fell, but again, no skeleton in the driver's seat or nearby. The area has a lot of parking meters. They were coin operated by the looks of it. They actually looked like they had some form of electronic display. The top half was glass on most of them, but it looks like most of them have been shattered, and mayhaps there was a bulb in there or some sort. All of this is to say that they probably would have looked pretty cool, as would this location in general. I can envision visiting here. It would have been an amazing place to visit as a kid. Imagine driving in to see this gigantic Mr. Handy robot at the centre as more swan around serving the people. It would have been fantastic. The rest of the outside area aside from the road is footpath. A generous amount of nice wooden park chair benches sit around the area with lampposts and a tree here or there. Now, this being in America, you'd drive in on the right-hand side, so I'll go around each building anti-clockwise. As soon as you enter, the first building is Slocum Joe's, a donut and coffee shop. The outside has this really cool retro wavy overhang roof in baby blue. Imagine like one of those old fancy folding fans, but the fan, jutting bits are a bit more wavy. It spans around the outside of the entrance to the shop. I will say the entrance, while being this nice semicircled waist-height brick wall with tall windows is nice, it nearly meets the road. Meaning to walk in, you'd need to step onto the road of the Galleria. Not very safe, I will say. Inside is small but functional. A bar on the left wall to eat at, and the main counter curves at the front and meets the right-hand wall. The air inside is wavy, letting you know gas is leaking here. Should you shoot, it would explode. We find our first 2 skeletons in here, one left and one right. The right one was holding a now empty milk bottle, the other one has nothing. A Mr. Handy called Bean operates this shop. He asks you if you'd like a nice cup of coffee. Saying yes, he states, "Here at Slocum's Joe, all of our coffee is heated to a perfect 200 degrees Fahrenheit. He then tells you to stand back as he ignites the gas in the air himself with his flamethrower. He starts saying, "Hot, hot, 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 hot." Then he has the cheek to turn hostile and attack you. You can take him down without anyone else caring, fortunately. But next up, around the Galleria, is Pilnelli's Bakery. Just outside the bakery, there is also a Pulowski preservation shelter. These are blue metal tubes fit with enough room to sit in. They're usually empty or have skeletons inside, typically implying they've never worked. This one does have a skeleton with a bakery ticket in their hand. It reads number 47. Though I have no evidence for this, I'd like to think it's a Hitman reference. The bakery itself is rectangular with 2 curved corners at the edges facing the inside of the Galleria. The roof has another retro wave to it. While the other one was curved gently, this one is point to point, like a line of lowercase V's, painted the same orange that's on the General Atomics sign out front. The bakery sign out front is a more classic oval shape with metal frills on the top. One half of the bakery is open to the public. A Mr. Handy called Crisp is behind the counter, wandering back and forth calling out order numbers ranging from 12 to 20. Being equally divided into 2, the bakery area is a small square. A skeleton is on a wooden bench by the door with a ticket number 22. There are a total of 10 tickets according to the Independent Fallout Wiki, a place I use to cross-reference information such as these tickets because I didn't find them all. None of the tickets you can find are numbered 12 to 20. Crisp won't engage in conversation, simply stating a variant of "Please wait your turn." So all the Mr. Handys in Fallout 4 usually have the same robot voice, a British, proper-sounding male voice, sort of like this. "Hello, Mom. Welcome to the General Atomics Galleria. I hope you enjoy your stay." Each Mr. Handy here is the same, but they all have their own personalities. Bean at Slocum's Joe was chipper and happy to help. as was the greeter outside. This is their typical default personality type though. Crisp, however, sounds like he'd rather be any place than here, probably because he's been trying to serve customers 12 to 20 for the last 200 plus years. Imagine a bored teenager working a crappy job serving people they hate, but with the voice of a proper British gentleman. Out the back is the other half of the building, a square cooking area. Appliances surround the outside wall, and at the centre is a countertop. Taut is the Mr. Handy back here. He yells at you with his gentleman's voice to get out. Again, no dialogue tree from him either, just naked aggression at being in his kitchen. He flies back and forth between the bank of appliances in his kitchen when not yelling at you. His attitude is very aggressive and he's being a lot less polite than he probably should be if a customer accidentally walked back into the employee zone. But now, next up we have Fallon's Department Store. A bit more of a traditional style building, but still a bit more character to it. An accent wall on the side facing into the Galleria is wavy again. The sharp kind like the bakery, but sideways along the wall in concrete. The entrance's door frame looks almost like copper with etching, and the rest of the walls are marble pillars with wooden panels to accent the frames of the windows. The department store is double-storied, taller than the bakery and coffee shop. The remnants of cloth sale banners dangle around the exterior upper floor. Inside is marbled floor and wood throughout with tiled ceilings. Mannequins and debris litter the ground along with two more skeletons. A robot called Reg darts around the store. He's absolutely dumbfounded to have an actual customer in his shop. He then aggressively tells you that this store took years to set up right and to not touch anything. Aside from the shelvings, there's a nice sitting area next to the stairs, and the walls have several paintings hung up. Upstairs has more traditional hardware store type shelving with a large portion dedicated to an array of stoves, dryers, washers and fridges. Another section to higher class looking furniture like tables and cabinets. As a note, anything you can pick up here is considered stealing in any of the buildings. That is until you destroy the owner. Each robot is considered the owner of the items in their own building. So in the bakery, Crisp and Taut will turn hostile if you pinch some fancy lad cakes off a shelf, but only they will be hostile. It doesn't turn the entire Galleria against you. In return, once Bean was destroyed, anything in the coffee shop was no longer considered stealing. Another note is that so far, the skeletons have come in pairs. One is either a bear skeleton or in male-type clothing, the other is in a dress, implying it was a male and female visiting together. The male one is in the bakery on a bench, the other is outside in the preservation shelter. I can almost envision a scene where a young couple are visiting, the lady waiting outside while he's gone inside to get their order. In a moment of panic, she dives into the preservation shelter which is right next to the eating area at the bakery. That's what I imagine, anyway. It always makes me wonder if these choices are on purpose or just coincidence. As in, did they intentionally want it to look the way I described, or is it just merely random? As in, oh, we want some skeletons in a shelter and a different one inside to ensure it's not all the exact same skeleton, adding randomness to the world. To be fair, my theory could be wrong because both skeletons have a bakery order number, so they may have been completely unaffiliated people, but I digress. Back to the department store and Reg, he doesn't have a dialogue tree either. He just angrily tells you to not touch anything. I do like his line, "See anything you like? Well, just leave it there." Because Reg is so precious about his layout, if you hold the interact button to move but not take an item, he still yells, "Ah, you ruined it!" and turns hostile, which doesn't happen in the bakery with its items. So it's a special setup just for Reg, as that's his character. You can run into items to knock them over and Reg doesn't react. I imagine that's just too hard to program. But now, next up to the department store is the back alley bowling. This is the only location that is an interior cell. The rest are open to the world. The exterior is tall and concrete. Another unique roof feature sees a different shape described. Imagine a uppercase N where you start at the bottom left, go up, then down to the right, and then stopping there and just repeating that pattern. That's how it is. But again, it just showcases the uniqueness to this area and every single thing is slightly different. A big retro bowling sign sits over the entrance, supported by the metal beams that support this odd roof. 2 double doors are at the entrance, along with a cigarette machine and newspaper machine. On either side of the building's front are back alley bowling posters, still legible, a background of again baby blue, the main accent colour of this place apparently. It later dawns on me that that's actually the colours of the General Atomics. The poster lets you know that both Kingpin and Candlepin lanes are available. I have absolutely no idea what that means. There's also a kids league, and Sunday is their best open lane day. Again, I don't know what some of that means. I'm not much of a bowler or what have you. Stepping inside, you'll find the remains of a once nice bowling alley. The brick and laminate floor entrance leads to the green retro-style carpet with the star-like symbols and boxes on them. It's very funky and wacky. The walls are also a light blue with retro-rounded line patterns. Plenty of light streams in through the shattered skylights above the alley. The counter is immediately to the right. A Mr. Handy called Tenpin is in charge and calls you over. If you ignore him and walk in further, he yells at you that you haven't paid. He and the other robots then turn hostile and attack you. Talking to him, he asks you if you want to bowl. A game costs the low price of $5,000. He says the 5,000 oddly, giving you the impression his programming has gone a bit wrong. Also, that is just an insane amount to pay anyway, so of course it's wrong. Like the rest of these weirdo robots around here, he's gone wrong, basically. You can tell him that $5,000 is ridiculous, and in a genuine laugh-out-loud moment, he says to you, "Poverty is never something to be ashamed of. Do come back when you can afford it." Asking if he takes caps, he scoffs and says legal tender only. You can convince him to let you have a look around with a charisma check, however. Ahead are the bowling lanes, and you can split off left or right. The ground floor has some lavatories on the left side, heavily destroyed, of course. The right is a rounded countertop for eating at, with a robot named Split taking orders. A door behind him leads into the tight, small kitchen occupied by Lane, the cook. Gas is leaking in here as well. And further in is a storage area along with the robot pods for the Mr. Handy units. Split simply welcomes you and tells you to enjoy your visit. Same goes for Lane. A balconied area is above the entrance where a bar is and 3 pool tables can be found. One set of stairs is next to the eatery, this one is for the customers. The employee stairs are through a door opposite the lavatories at the other side. Strike is a robot behind the bar, again the same dialogue as the other robots. The walls up here are brick, making it feel more like an adult area of the bowling alley. A working jukebox adds some gentle music to the more sinister soundtrack the game plays inside here. The dingy employee corridor off the bar leads to the employee stairs, and a ladder is actually here to gain access to the roof outside. Mid-level of the switchback stairs here is an office for a human employee. Along with an array of data banks, there is also our first terminal. This is the supervisor's terminal with an average lock level. The main screen gives out readouts and statuses about the park. The Galleria is closed, the director management system is active, the facility supervisor is not present, and one store is reporting an error. The one error in store is due to Bean being destroyed by me already. A warning also states the terminal contains confidential and privileged information, supervisor's eyes only. There are 2 entries you can click on. The first is Field Directives. It reads, "The General Atomics Galleria, the Galleria in quotation marks, has been developed to showcase the range and versatility of General Atomics International, GAI, line of robots, and to serve as a model for our robotic shopping centre concept. The Galleria has been supplied with high-performance specialty robots designed to function autonomously under the supervision of a GAI director management system. Federal law requires the presence of an on-site human supervisor, you. However, any actions or interventions on your part will interfere with the operation goals of the Galleria and is strictly forbidden. You are to remain in your office unless otherwise directed." So, basically, we are having this place be automated, but law says you need to be here for safety, but don't you dare actually do anything. The next menu is the communications log with 4 entries. The first is from the 7th of the 8th, 77. The Customer Relations Department duly notes the concerns detailed in your recent reports. However, your interventions are an unexpected variable not accounted for in the robot's original programming, and may be responsible for the behavioural cascade failures in question. Additionally, your role in these incidents may have exposed GAI to additional legal liability. Once again, all supervisory functions are to be exercised by the Galleria's director. Refrain from any further contact with the robots or patrons. The next is from the 7th of the 19th, 77. In light of recent events, you are authorized to assist the director in identifying malfunctioning robots and to monitor the effectiveness of any efforts to repair their programming. Should additional fatalities occur, you are authorized to offer an immediate financial settlement to the survivors, if any, on behalf of GAI. See Compensation Scale 14-J. Second to last is from the 7th, 2677. Effective immediately, the Galleria is closed until further notice. You are to notify the director and oversee the immediate and complete shutdown of the entire centre and its staff. If you believe the director has been compromised, you may disable it and use the DMS override terminal in its office to trigger an emergency manual shutdown of the entire Galleria. The password for this terminal is GAI-GAL-4. The last is the 10th of the 23rd, 77. Mr. Sincade. Upon arrival at this centre, you are to make your way to the director's office in the statue. Identify yourself as Grand Reopening Supervisor 18-Alpha, present your ID, and order the director to initiate the Grand Reopening Protocol. This will trigger a series of firmware updates that should resolve the cascade failures and restore the robots to normal operation. Extreme caution is advised. We believe that the director has been compromised and may be responsible for the death of your predecessor. With this entry, you get the Galleria DMS override password. So, something rather sinister happened here previously and also to the former supervisor, and perhaps it was the director that was involved. The Galleria needed to be shut down due to what seems like errors happening throughout the place, which actually resulted in fatalities of the patrons. We've very much witnessed those errors already with Bean and, Crisp, and also Reg especially, very hostile. Once more, the last message was for the new supervisor that never made it as the war happened. This is the person we are pretending to be. This, however, does beg the question, why were there people that seem to be visiting this place if it was closed? The grand reopening hasn't happened yet, and the place is filled with skeletons that seem like customers. It's quite strange and sinister, yet intriguing. Down some stairs from this room leads to the back end of the lanes. One last robot, Kingpin, wanders around the motionless back-end machines of the lanes. He has no new lines either. Another door is at the end, and that leads back out into the bowling alley. The walls around the big bowling alley area are tall. A new wallpaper pattern, more baby blue colours, fills the bottom section of the wall. The rest is the same pattern as the carpet at the entrance, but with a black background on one side. The other side is brick, and that side leads up to the balconied area and the bar. Advertisements and retro-coloured shaped paintings line these tall walls as well. But that's it for the back alley bowling. Though I will say it has only just occurred to me while recording this that perhaps the bodies that are left around are actually from the incident that happened. But that would mean that there's many, many days have passed and those bodies were just left there, which also doesn't make sense. It really feels like those bodies are from people visiting the park when the war happened and, the wave of radiation wafted over them all and, took them all out. Not the bodies left there after an incident, though thinking about that, I will say, it's entirely possible that the area was quarantined because the robots were hostile and their supervisor was sent there to, initiate the grand reopening. Then the bodies would have been cleared, but that didn't happen because, of course, the war. Sorry, went a little bit off script as it were there, but yeah, back outside to the next location. We can now head to a nice little diner. This is the classic design you'll find in a lot of areas around Fallout 4. A nice big sign is on top, however. More baby blue paint in a retro future looping font states Handy Eats. Inside this small diner is the largest collection of skeletons, all occupying the red leather dining seats. Upon entering, Waittron, the robot at the entrance, automatically talks to you, asking if you'd like a table. If you say yes, he'll amusingly say, "Right this way, hun." Like hun is said rather begrudgingly, like he's being forced to say it and doesn't want to. Again, of course, it's all in the standard Mr. Handy British voice. He leads you to the only unoccupied booth, the rest are filled with skeletons. You can ask him about all the bodies, but he simply states there's a lot of customers at the moment. It's like they never leave. Sitting down, he asks you, "How can we serve you today? Charbroiled? Diced? Mashed?" You can pick those three options and you'll say the same line for all three. Wait, what? Waitron and Cook Handy, the diner's cook, then attack you. You can get out of it with a charisma check, avoiding the combat and saying you're not actually hungry. Cook Handy simply asks you to stay out of the kitchen if you talk to him due to health regulations. Waitron actually has a terminal in front of him. It has the Galleria status information we saw on the other terminal. It also has 3 entries. One is the wait and call ahead list, it's unsurprisingly empty. Next is the principles of Handy Eats. 1. At Handy Eats, serving you is our code. 2. At Handy Eats, food is fresh, fast and flavorful, or it's free. 3. At Handy Eats, robotic precision yields dining perfection. Number 1 is the line Waitron says before attacking you in the eating booth. The final is Programmer's Note, 2nd 1877. Corey, I've implemented the marketing lists of principles as high priority command routines in the personality archetypes of the Handy Eats robots. I think we should still push back on this. Laws like these are always subject to miscalculations and prioritization failures in real-world settings. Isaac. Another great entry that hints at how the Waitron misinterprets the code and decides you need to be served as food. Outside around the back of the diner is a nice stone-bricked area for outdoor eating as well, overlooking the lake nearby. The next store around is the General Atomics Outlet, another unique frontage with a stretched V-shape overhang in baby blue with points poking out further in red, or orange. The logo is the same colours, this is a rectangular building. Sprocket greets you as you enter. 1/3 of the shopping floor is dedicated to Mr. Handy and Mr. Gutsy robots, all sitting down in inactive pods. 3 skeletons lie in this section too. The ceiling is squared in sections with red paint centering a light in each area. The floor is nicely tiled and the hardware store-like shelvings fill the rest with very little product around. The shopping trolleys also seem to mostly come from this store, as there's a lot inside. Sprocket asks you to follow as a demonstration is just about to begin. Sprocket leads you to the Mr. Handy and Mr. Gutsy area to give you his salesman pitch. As he talks, one by one, the 3 alive robots will sputter into life, hovering, then popping into sparks and falling over. It's again quite funny, especially as the final one pops as he's praising their reliability and durability. He then talks about the Mr. Gutsy variants, 2 of which are opposite the Mr. Handys, one is already destroyed. Surprising no one by now, as he talks, the alive Mr. Gutsy hovers up and immediately attacks you, calling you a commie. Sprocket ends the demonstration and wishes you a good day once you've defeated the Mr. Gutsy. There's a small workroom out the back with a bunch of benches but nothing else of note. No doubt a temporary spot for human workers doing maintenance when it's needed. Lastly, around the outside is Madden's Boxing Gym. A huge Madden's sign is on top of the rectangular bricked building. The sign is accentuated with a green 3-leaf clover and colouring that you would probably stereotypically call Irish. One corner inside is occupied with a boxing ring. The walls and floors are lined with barbells, a great source of scrap lead if you've got the muscle to carry them. 3 skeletons lie around the ring, heavily implying 3 people were taken out and dragged to the edge. A Mr. Handy called Mac wants you to step into the ring and take on the Champ, another Mr. Handy robot. The Champ is actually his name. If you step into the ring, the Champ will attack you. For some reason, they take exception if you pull out a 10mm and start shooting the Champ. This turns them all hostile inside, including Danny, the 3rd Mr. Handy robot at the counter. You can take the Champ on legitimately, however, using your fists. The Mr. Handy rather unfairly uses his razor-sharp blades, however. If you drop the Champ, Mac congratulates you, but nothing else really happens. Out back behind another locked door is an employee area. You'll find a small office, most importantly, you'll find another terminal. This terminal is Madden's office terminal. Again, you'll get the Galleria readouts. There are two entries. One is current promotions. It reads, current corporate promotion, none. Current manager's sale, none. The Madden's Gym franchise agreement permits local operators to offer manager sales at their sole discretion. There is a prompt called Start Manager Sale. This activates a 25% discount. Danny doesn't actually currently sell anything, and he even states the shop is closed as the Galleria is closed. There is a second entry, a programmer's note, the 3rd of the 5th, 77. Corey, this is ridiculous. I knew the manager's sale provision is built into the franchise agreement, but the Galleria is run entirely by robots. There is no manager. Why are we wasting development time and functionality that will never be used? Isaac, I think this is a pain that many programmers can very much understand, adding functionality because corporate says so, but you know it's going to be useless. But anyway, that's everything for the Madden's boxing gym. The final stop is in the statue at the center. A lift is around the back of the statue. It lifts you up into the big round body of the Mr. Handy. A relatively hidden panel hinges open to let you in. Inside is an area with a computer equipment facing the door as you come in. It looks much like you'd imagine the inside of a 200-plus-year-old rounded metal frame of a structure would look like. It's all pretty rusted. You do get a closer look at the statue as you go up the open lift, by the way. The jet flame and the handy legs are linked to the ground to create the lower body of the statue. It's all a very nice design. Behind a computer counter is a Mr. Gutsy. This is the one you can hear barking out orders over the loudspeaker system. This is the director. He calls you a maggot and wants to know what you're doing here. The tech around him allows him to observe you, and he's been watching you since your approach. He thinks you're a criminal. I'll go over him and the details as that's part of the quest for this area in just a moment. On the ground there's a skeleton. They have a Galleria supervisor's password in their hand, giving the impression this is the former supervisor stopped in their tracks when they were trying to potentially turn off the director. Once you complete the quest, the Galleria may be opened. Nearly every location will now be activated. Waitron will barter if you take a seat, Crisp will sell you food at the bakery, and so on. They all accept caps now, but don't have much on them to trade with, around 20 to 40 max. The only place that's still closed after the reopening is the bowling alley, as they tell you the lanes are out of order. Being that they're ravished by 200 plus years of nuclear winter and time, they do look rather rubbish, though he does offer you to look around freely if you like now. That is if you haven't done the charisma check and dared not enter further. So basically now all the robots have had combat inhibitors activated, ridding them of their hostile attitudes. I forgot to mention there are a couple of Mr. Gutsies patrolling the inside area of the Galleria. Before the grand opening they'll say things like, litter or don't, the hell do I care? Which changes to, don't litter, after the opening. It's fun that they all get these neat attitude changes when their programming is updated. The last little bits to find are on the roofs. You can gain access via the bowling alley and jump around to the other roofs. The department store has a skeleton with a few bits of loot, as does Madden's. Slocum Joe's has a cap stash but no skeleton. But that is it for the general atomics area and what you can find. There is one quest you can do here, of course. It's a miscellaneous quest, so it doesn't actually have a title, it just goes into your miscellaneous section on your Pip-Boy. You of course get it when you're talking to the greeter and you tell him you're the new supervisor. The quest is just to simply report to the director in the statue. This is how you can activate the grand reopening. If you've been to the General Atomics factory and obtained the General Atomics ID card, you can skip the need for any speech checks with the director. You'll also get a gold watch for your 275 years of service to the company from the director. If you fail the speech check, all the robots turn hostile. There is an override terminal in the statue with the director. If you take down the director, this terminal is now active, and you can activate the grand reopening, as well as turning the other robots non-hostile again. Or you can actually set them to self-destruct. These options only work if the director is destroyed, otherwise the overrides won't appear as an option. The terminal is also locked with a master level lock, so you need 100 science. Unless you have the password which you can grab from the bowling alley. The director also gives you 15 pre-war money when he accepts you as the new supervisor as the reward to be handed out to whomever wins the raffle. The raffle was obviously something that was supposed to happen, but of course, you can't really do that. However, that is the quest for this area. It's just the one, but it's a good one. There is also no real loot here, sadly. But despite that, there is a fair amount of things to grab, including a large amount of bowling balls and the lead weights, which is a good source of lead for, say, ammo crafting. There are only 1 or 2 notes for this area that I've got as well. The first one is, if you leave the area after the grand reopening, then come back after a little bit, which I did try out to confirm, the skeletons will be gone and the furniture will be moved a little to make it look a bit nicer. Well, as nice as a husk of anything can look in the wasteland. The concrete barrier at the entrance is gone, as well as all the cones, barricades, and loose tyres around the area. Sadly, there is no comical pile of skeletons around outside anywhere. I did check for that, by the way. They did miss the preservation shelter skeleton, as well as 2 on the roof. The floor of the buildings are all swept and nice too, and a lot more of the loot that is around is not considered stealing anymore. I did check the bowling alley, but it's not really cleaned up at all. Tenpin does newly state, however, that sorry we're not open, the place hasn't been cleaned properly in 200 years, which to me implies they weren't really aware of the time passing before, but with the new reopening and their programming or memory mayhaps has been flushed, they are now more aware of the open outside world, as it were. This also explains why they accept caps when they barter as well, I'd say. The second note I do have is that in the Far Harbor DLC, there is a unique Fat Man launcher called the Striker. This can be modified to launch modified bowling balls, the crafting of which requires a bowling ball, making this location a great place to source them. The Fallout Independent Wiki says that there are 39 of them total in the alley, which I'll take their word for it, I don't feel like counting them all. But yes, that's the last of the notes, and that is it for the General Atomics Galleria. As always, I like to end with my final thoughts about the location. I found it to be another fun location. Very unique in their design. I love the Mr. Handy in the center as well. And like I said before, I think this would have been a fantastic place to visit if it was, working and you were a kid. Honestly, it's one of those places I wish I was more of a modder and would love to properly rebuild the place and turn it into a hub of commerce, as it were. I do like that it's, cleaned up when you come back, but I wish it would have, perhaps been a little bit more than that. I do enjoy the fun, insane robots. Their personalities are all great and, being yelled at by some of the Mr. Handies, and they're all just being a little bit weird. Each one has their own little story. It's really good and really great story writing, I will say. I do like the attention to detail of their attitudes changing once it's open. They really didn't quite have to do that. It's all very good. It's a shame you can't really truly find out exactly what happened to the former supervisor. It's just hinted at. I assume the supervisor was just, killed by the director, basically, who is very aggressive towards you, even I think after the activation. He probably just thought the supervisor was a commie because they were trying to stop him in some way, shape or form. So the story you get is that these robots were just stuck in this decaying state of mind for over 200 years. Perpetually just cleaning or perpetually reorganizing like Reg was, or just trying to serve nobody because nobody's coming. I really love the attitude of bakery guy, the Crisp, just sitting there going like, order number 12, order number 12, and then just moves on for a little bit, order number 13 and all that sort of stuff. It's quite funny. But also in a more sinister way, quite harrowing as well. I do really love the intrigue of this accident that happened and all that sort of good stuff. I do wish once again you could find out a little bit more information. Of course, in storytelling like this, it's probably always better to leave it a little bit more open for interpretation, leave you guessing and filling in the blanks. That way you don't have to write more and, leave it up to the people's imagination then. I think it rather coincidentally always does make sense in Fallout, especially because it's been, well over 200 years by now. I do really love the architecture. Each building is unique. The people that, designed this area really went into making sure every little building was different. The Mr. Handy statue, like I said, imagine being a kid driving under that. It would have been so fantastic. Though I will say the appearance of the boxing gym is a little bit weird. It probably would have been better if it was a fitness store instead. That probably would have made a little bit more sense. But I think they wanted a boxing gym because they wanted to have the champ and you boxing one of them, and that was the idea for one of the locations. So it feels a bit more shoehorned in, I will say. It is actually a shame there's no other real quests here either. It would have been fantastic to have more quests for the director later onwards. I could have easily imagined him giving some quests out like there's some damn kids nearby making all this racket, and you go there and it turns out there's a bunch of raiders or something. He asks you to move them along, but you go out there and, destroy them. Or taking over as director yourself and having to deal with the machinations of other people trying to take over this area, or you having to defend it, or so that sort of thing, There's a myriad of quests you could probably get done here, but of course they always just didn't have enough time to do everything. But yes, I'd say that is everything I have to talk about in this location. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment and all that good stuff. It all really helps out. And as always, a thank you to the fantastic independent Fallout Wiki, as it's a great resource for referencing and finding out things I may have missed in my investigation. Because as always, I do go to these locations myself and check it all out before I go into the wiki and what have you. But yes, thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.